I had been living in that quiet neighborhood for almost a year. Life there was simple. Work during the day, come home in the evening, cook something quick, and spend the rest of the night watching TV or scrolling through my phone. Most of the neighbors kept to themselves, except for one. Her name was Lena. She lived in the apartment right across the hall from mine. We weren't exactly friends, but we had one of those polite neighbor relationships. Smiles in the hallway, a quick good morning, sometimes small talk while collecting mail. At first, she treated me like just another neighbor. Nothing special. But one evening, everything seemed to change. It started on a Friday night. I was carrying grocery bags up the stairs when Lena opened her door at the same time. She looked tired, like she had just come home from work. "Need help with that?" she asked, pointing at the bags. I laughed. "I think I can survive the journey." She smiled and leaned against her doorframe while watching me unlock my apartment. Then she suddenly asked something unexpected. "So, where's your girlfriend?" I paused. I don't have one." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Really?" "Yeah," I said, shrugging. "Just me." For a second, she didn't say anything. She just looked at me longer than usual. Then she smiled. But this time, it felt different. After that day, little things started changing. Before, we'd only talk if we happened to meet in the hallway. Now, she seemed to appear more often. Sometimes when I got home from work, she'd already be outside watering the small plants near her door. "Perfect timing," she'd say. I was just about to make coffee. Other times, she'd knock on my door with random excuses. "Do you have extra sugar? Can I borrow a screwdriver? Do you know why my Wi-Fi keeps disconnecting?" The strange part, I noticed she didn't ask other neighbors for help. Just me. One night, I came home late from work. It had been a long day, and all I wanted was sleep. As I walked down the hallway, I saw Lena sitting on the floor outside her apartment, scrolling on her phone. She looked up the moment she heard my footsteps. "There you are," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "Were you waiting for someone?" She smiled softly. "Maybe." I chuckled. Tough luck if it wasn't me. But instead of laughing like usual, she looked straight into my eyes and said quietly, "It was you." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. We started talking right there in the hallway. What was supposed to be a 5-minute conversation somehow turned into almost an hour. We talked about work, childhood memories, our favorite movies, even the embarrassing things we did in high school. It felt easy, like we'd known each other much longer than just neighbors. At some point, she asked again. "So, you've really been single this whole time?" "Yeah," I said. "Why?" She hesitated before answering. "Because I thought you weren't interested in anyone." I frowned slightly. "What made you think that?" She looked down at her hands and laughed nervously. "Because you never looked at me that way." That caught me off guard. "Wait, what way?" She finally looked back up. "The way a man looks at a woman he likes." The hallway suddenly felt very quiet. "I didn't think you were interested," she continued. "And I didn't want to make things awkward." I leaned against the wall, processing everything she was saying. "So, when you found out I was single," she nodded slowly. I realized maybe I was wrong. I couldn't help but smile. "All this time," I said. "I thought you were just being friendly." She laughed. "Friendly people don't sit outside someone's door at 11 p.m. waiting for them to come home." Fair point. Then she stood up and brushed the dust off her jeans. "Well," she said playfully, "now you know." I crossed my arms, pretending to think. "So, what happens now?" She stepped a little closer. Close enough that I could see the faint sparkle in her eyes. "That," she said, "depends on whether you're still planning to stay single." I looked at her for a moment, then smiled. "Honestly, yeah, I think my neighbor just ruined those plans." She laughed, the warm kind that fills the whole hallway. And for the first time since moving into that building, Going home didn't feel like the end of my day. It felt like the beginning of something new. The funny thing is, sometimes love doesn't come from far away. Sometimes it's been living right across the hall the entire time.